Welcome to Flip Lips episode 8 with Deshauna and Brandy. Today we have a very special guest, Mrs. Risha.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are extremely excited that she's here. We're going to allow her to share her own story today. And please be sure to like, comment, share, and most importantly, press the button and subscribe to Flip Lips Podcast.
Please and thank you.
Good morning. My name is Larisha Roussel Alfred. I'm the mother of Jameer M. Alfred. I'm with the King Jameer M. Alfred Foundation. Jameer was murdered on December 25th, 2020. Here in New Orleans, he went to a Walgreens with two of his cousins. Someone was shooting at one of the cousins, and unfortunately, my only son was murdered.
Wow. So let's jog back a little bit. The day, which was Christmas Day, that you received the news about your son. Where were you in that moment?
Let's start here. For 14 years, we would always send Jameer, me and Jameer's dad, co-parent, would always send him by my family for Christmas. This is something that has always, even when I was a child, that my mom would send me, by my family for Christmas, And so he went that morning. We FaceTime. He was excited. He got everything that he asked me for. I went out and got it for him at no cost, and he was super excited. We talked, FaceTime 3 times, talked, and all of that. I was in Dallas at the time. I was out of town. And got a phone call about 9:30 that there was an incident that happened. And so immediately when I'm like, incident, I didn't know,
It was that.
No, never would have thought that. And so wind up calling his dad and his aunt who lived around the corner from the Walgreens. And so she went first. And then his dad went, and his dad called me back and he said, Risha, something is just not right. And I was like, what do you mean something is just not right? And at that time it still was COVID. So mind you, I'm out of town in Dallas, so I couldn't get to the airport. All the airports and stuff was closed. So as the night began and progressed, his dad told me, he said, Risha, I don't think Jameer is going to live. Ooh. And I said, what? And literally at all of that time, back and forth on the phone and stuff, I felt life leave me. I just felt life just left, and it was just light that I saw. And so, my mom, everybody went to the hospital. I'm in a hotel room, could not leave. So I'm all over the place. And I'm talking to God, and I'm like, this cannot be so. And so the next morning I was able to leave and get back here. And then we had to really decide. The hospitals, they did everything. The doctors, they really did. Even Jameer's pediatrician was there. Wow. Yeah, they did everything possible, but he was gone. So 2 parents lost a child.
What type of kid was Jameer?
Jameer was an innocent, bright, bubbly kid. Old soul. He loved band. He was in band. He was in Roots of Music. He played in 2 footballs, the Hellcats and the Panthers. Very smart. I would always tell him he get that from his dad. Get his looks from me.
Okay.
Very cute.
And he would always say, I have your color, but I look like my dad. And I would say, well, you have my butt. But he loved both parents. He loved his siblings. And Jameer had friends. And Jameer had so many friends that I didn't even know that he had. He was just that type of energetic kid, And this was by far I just could not believe this had happened to me. I'm the person that, if you tell me, you want to be with the garbage man, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to pray about it. And girl, y'all going to own the company one day, And I could not understand this. And I was mad at God. I really was in the beginning, because I'm like, I pray for miracles to happen for people. How did this happen to me?
Wow. So, you and Jameer's dad were together, or?
We're divorced.
Okay, so y'all were co-parenting at the moment.
Co-parenting.
So what was that like, being that you guys were married before.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to co-parent.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like for you, grieving your son?
That.
Yeah.
Well, the week that all of this happened, I had just found out that Tuesday, well, really it was that Monday, that Tuesday me and Jamil went to go eat pizza. Tuesdays and Thursdays was really our lunch dates. So I had just found out that Monday that I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Oh my God.
So that Tuesday when we went to go eat pizza, I was trying to tell him, but I couldn't tell him. Something just said, just enjoy the moment. Now, again, this is my second time having cancer. I had breast cancer. And I had just came from out of COVID. And out of COVID came ovarian cancer. So it was a lot at one time. And like I said, that night, 2 parents lost a child. Because even though me and Jameer's dad, were divorced, we co-parent. He lived with his dad, but I had him on weekends and I did my thing with him. And his dad had him. We both, we set aside our drama, to take care of him. That's what meant the most to both of us. So now, he's in heaven and, it's hard for me and it's hard for his dad. Every day that passes since this, I have always prayed for his dad because I know that, it hurts him tremendously too.
So I know that family was involved.
Yeah, and our family has been divided.
Wow.
Those 2 cousins know exactly, what that was about. It hurts me the most because I was very close to their grandmother, which is like my aunt. And when stuff like this happens, people don't want to be accountable, for things. And then children, when they get busted of things happening like this, they're afraid to tell their parents, I was actually involved in something. But for me and Jameer's father and the rest of my family, we're like, an innocent child lost his life. He can never be brought back,
It's like, where is the... Yes, accountability, but humility.
Yeah.
Like, it's no way. Like, I have such a heavy conscience myself, so if something like that happened due to me, it's no way you can't have humility and,
Right.
like, how could that divide a family?
Right.
That's...
And I tell people all the time, Jameer's things came back, but he didn't. And that's something that 2 parents, grandmothers, and even his siblings have to deal with daily,
Do you have other kids?
I do not, and I can't have any more kids. So I go home to pillows every night, in memories.
So what's your grieving process? Since that, what have you done to keep your sanity and still live a normal life? I know you have foundations and stuff like that. Obviously, that's a part of your grieving and trying to turn negative into positive. But on a daily basis, what's your daily routine without those Tuesdays and Thursdays, without Jameer and stuff like that?
Therapy, extensive. I had got to a point, when everything is over, the people are gone, the visiting in and out, it becomes dark. And I hit that dark moment. And, for me it was very scary, but because I've had work in the medical field and I have experience in mental health and all of that. And I saw myself one day spiraling. And my mom was like, you got to get some help, Risha. We're not doing this. We got to get some help, And actually, I remembered burying him and all of that, but I still thought that was fake. I really did. One day I got up and I thought I was late because, he would always travel back and forth. Every year we would send him out of town for football camp. And I honestly went to the airport one day thinking he was there. And I mean, it was God's grace. One of my girlfriends called me out the clip and she was like, where are you? And I said, I'm on my way to the airport. She said, Risha, for what? And I said, to pick Jameel up. She said, Risha, Jameel is not at the airport. And I thank God for that phone call because what if I would have went into those people at the airport? They probably would have committed me.
Absolutely.
But, when
it
anything.
could have been another breakdown moment for you. So that's why we always talk about having friends and having someone to just support you in what you have going on. So what does your support system look like now? Even though you're doing extensive therapy, you know, what is, I know your mom is,
Yeah, I thank God for the village. I really do. I thank God every day for the people that He has aligned me with. He's aligned me with great people that have had my back. You know, different things, different sponsors, different partners, you know, with everything that I am doing and have done in the community for other families, you know, and I thank God for that because people, you know, means a lot to me, the loyalty. And even in this situation, I'm still, you know, kind of skeptical about people, you know, because of, you know, the tragedy that happened, and I don't know who did that, you know, but God has aligned me with great people, and that means the most to me. And it helps me every day with the work and with my mental. You know, this stuff is hard, you know, for anybody to go through.
so you think sharing your story, walking with Jameer, and your foundations, can we go back on what those foundations are about?
Okay, so the King Jameer M. Alford Foundation supports other siblings that has lost a sibling in gun violence. We help with academics, football and band, and all of that. Uniforms I've helped with too. You know, some parents don't have that when school starts. Mothers Empowerment for Justice also helps. I don't want to just say mothers because there's families that have been impacted by gun violence. You know, it's mothers and fathers that are still together that has lost a child in gun violence. So, you know, on that side, we help with that, with the mental side of it. Helping them with getting in touch with their detectives. It's a lot of parents that have came to me and said, you know, well, I've contacted the detective. I met him that night the incident happened, and I haven't talked to him anymore.
Wow.
You know, so I've been that person to call and make calls and get in touch with people. Like I tell people, this is not glitz and glams for me at all. It isn't, because at the end of the day, I lost my child to help other people, and I want to be that person, that advocate, to help people, to bring families together, because this is hard.
So I know you said early on, you said you had to question God.
Yeah.
What does that look like now? And I understand too that you like you said, you had to lose your child to help another child. Where is your relationship now with God?
I'm not giving up on God.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, we question. I had breast cancer when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. 30 days. I mean, I found out I had breast cancer the next 30 days. I found out some stuff about my husband. And I'm like, God, are you serious right now? And Jamel was still living at the time. But it was, you know, that just time of my life that I just had to go through. And I feel like in life you have levels, and God bring you through tests. It's up to you to say how you're going to handle those tests. You know, and they're hard. They were hard, and I mean, I fight through things every day, but I'm not giving up on God.
So, let's talk about gun violence. So, prior to you losing your son to gun violence, has it ever affected you or your family before?
No.
Never.
No.
Okay. So, I've had the same thing in my family, like such a tragic accident. My aunt lost her son to gun violence randomly. Again, it really had nothing to do with him. His life was taken. My other cousin was shot. And then a few years later, his son was killed due to gun violence. Two totally different situations.
Right.
Now, honestly speaking, his dad, he had issues with drugs, but he was a very good person.
Right.
He didn't do harm to anybody. He still lost his life. Years later, his son was actually involved in things. I don't know anything specific, but he was in those group of kids who are out here being bad. So it's two different situations, same outcome. So it's kind of like, how do you navigate as a community member to know what is the cause? Because your son, yes, he was with people who was affiliated, but he had nothing to do with that.
Right.
Just like my cousin. And then my little cousin, he was affiliated with things, and you kind of like, not that they deserve it, but you kind of put yourself in those situations. So I think that's a big problem in the community. Now so many random people are getting killed, and gun violence is not exclusive anymore.
Right.
You know, I see murder rates from the 90s. It was high. and it's not an excuse, but those were exclusive. The murders that are happening now are just out of control, and it's with the youth. So your programs and all that, like, those are the type of things that the community needs. How much interaction do you get from the communities for your program? Do you have a lot of people wanting to be involved? Or are you just like doing it by yourself, trying to figure it out? Like, are you getting good feedback?
Yeah, I am. And this is what I say all the time. It's the community that I feel that is going to be the one to fix this problem. I think that a lot of people have to stop the blame game. We have to stop that.
I love that.
You know, I was on the phone with someone yesterday and they were rapping and raving about the mayor, this, that, and I'm like, I can't say that the mayor caused my child to die because she didn't.
Right.
Speaking of the blame game, and I'm happy you brought that up. Even with kids, parents that have lost a child, I know it. I kind of feel like what your answer is going to be, but there are some parents that get angry when other kids don't die in a gun violence.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. You know, this is what I honestly feel about that. Like I said, that night, I don't feel like nobody's child should have died. Honestly. No matter what it was that she did, I don't feel like nobody's child should have died. But mine did. And in saying that, those people should be accountable for that, because if the roles was reversed, if it was me and I knew that Jamil was into something, I had an inkling idea, he's selling weed, he's smoking weed, he's doing something, and somebody's child got lost on my watch, I would have, hands down, Jamil ass would have been in jail.
Okay. That's the problem right there.
Yeah.
People don't want their kids to be held accountable. So many times you see on the news, children, a recent news article with a recent murder, they sent the pictures to NOLA.com. The little boy literally have a gun on his waist. And then you want the community to feel sorry because you lost your child. And it's like, it looked like your child could have caused the lost life of somebody else's child. So it's hard to sympathize. No, nobody wants to see anybody lose their kids. But what are your kids out here doing?
Right. And this is what I said, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No.
Some parents have to step up.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a child that's 14, 15 years old out here smoking weed, that's a problem.
It's a problem.
Taking that ownership.
That's
Taking
not
that ownership.
cute.
Yes.
It's a problem.
That's a problem. He's 14, he's 15, or her.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of girls out here.
Wow.
They're
Yes,
worse
they
than the
are.
boys.
I agree.
So I feel like that's something that parents have to be accountable to. No, you don't want your child to go to jail, but if you know that your child is not out here doing the right thing, then no, both of y'all should be accountable.
I'm writing on you.
Yeah, and that's another thing that people don't realize. Like, when stuff happens, away with this whole snitching thing. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when this hits your home, you're not going to feel the same way.
That's correct.
Yes, I had 2 scares. So I sympathize, empathize, and before you came on, I questioned myself. And she even brought back to my attention. She said, Brandy, remember when this happened? Remember that happened with your boys? And I said, wow, like, I really buried that. So I know what I would have felt losing them, and not knowing that. And she always bring this up, and I'm very open about my kids. And I have one son, he ain't did nothing. You ain't got nothing on you, like, listen, you know what I'm saying? But that particular day, in that time frame, I did not know my son was doing anything. And I could have easily went outside my door and a murder could have happened, and I would have been like, wait, my son don't go outside, my son don't do anything. But my son was climbing out the window of his bedroom. So they're better now.
Yeah.
But people question, well, where are you? Where are your kids? What's going on? Because the children in this, sometimes it's not even the parents.
Yeah. Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And then
It's
you
just
have
a child.
It's the child,
This is
and
the
you can
difference.
provide it all.
This is the difference. No, you didn't know he was sneaking out the window and all that, but it's the conversations that y'all had at the kitchen table to let him know what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
You can't
We
stop
had
him
plenty.
from doing certain things,
Right.
again, we always talk about this on our podcast, the foundations that you set in your friendships and your relationships and your relationship with your kids. It's important because all of that help them, both of them, get to where they are today.
Yeah.
So that's what's not happening in these homes. It's not just that they don't know where their kids are, because some people may be at work and their kids doing sneaky things. But what are you talking about with your kids when you are at home?
Yeah.
Are you just letting them do whatever?
No.
Are you even addressing anything? Are you trying to see what's going on? It's like they don't even address their kids.
And that's the thing. It's like now I feel like a lot of old stuff have to come back. You know, PTA meetings.
Yes.
We need to attend those.
Yes.
You know, truancy,
Yes.
right? We need the, what was it called, rollback or something, like when you miss school and they call
Yes.
and let you know your child haven't made it in.
It's like that in Texas.
It
They don't
needs to
play.
be implemented back here in New Orleans.
Yes.
You know, a lot of, like you say, at the table, a lot of we get McDonald's and we eating it at the table and we talking. What's on your mind? What are you going through? What's your feelings? What are you thinking? That's a lot of this stuff. These children have emotions. You know, their feelings. You know, they see other people doing this and that and they think, you know, I want to fit in. You know, what could I do? You know, and it's the mind. You know, a lot of these children have a lot of peer pressure, you know, going on in their minds.
I think that I'm speaking for myself. When I was a kid, I didn't have those kind of talks with my parents. It was more so, don't do this because I said don't do it. It wasn't a conversation like, don't do this because this can happen or this could be the outcome or I did it. So now that's what I do with my daughter. So recently I found a video on her phone of her friend smoking a vape. So that same day she was with her friend. So of course in my mind I'm like, oh, you was smoking a vape too.
Right.
So she like, no, at first, you know, like, no, I didn't try it or whatever. And I'm like, let's just have a real conversation because I've been a child and I've been around certain things. So she was like, I tried it once, but I didn't like it. I said, let me tell you something. I cannot travel with you with your friends everywhere you go. So experimenting can lead to all these things. I'm like, listen, I tried to smoke weed.
Yeah.
It made me paranoid. I can't do it. It didn't work for me. Now, there are some people who smoke weed one time and lose their mind and never come back.
Yeah.
These are all the things you need to know when you're experimenting. And you also need to know you can be with 15 girls who smoke weed and you could be the only one who don't smoke weed and y'all can still be the best of friends. You have to do what you want to do and you have to be around people who let you do what you want to do. And some of these kids are just followers, like, and then you see some of these kids who get murdered. They are doing good for themselves.
Yeah.
Like they into sports, they have a bright future.
They have no clue of that.
And then they just go with the wrong crowd and it's just instant. All because you afraid to just be yourself and let your friends be themselves. And like, hey, I'm not getting in the car with you today. Y'all
And I
know
feel
that.
like the ones that are into stuff like that, if you do have other people, like you say, come around, your cousins away, if you know you're doing wrong, you can't come in a car with me.
Same
No.
thing with the girl and the
Stay home.
boyfriends. Like,
Right.
stop putting people in your car when you know people are shooting at you and you shooting at people. Don't put your grandmother in your car.
Right.
Don't put kids in your car.
Now so going back 1 second to Jameer, right? When you got that news, and you know the type of child that you have, right? At any point, did those kids take accountability?
No, they did not. They still have not taken accountability of any of that. They haven't. Nothing. Don't.
So in their mind, it was just a random
That's
attack.
Academic, wow.
Yeah, but I mean, Stevie wanted to know that that's a lie.
Wow.
Oh my God! And even the adults in the situation feel like that.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah, it's been 2 years. December this past made 2 years.
Wow.
And nothing from that family. Nothing. That wasn't random. That was not random.
And this is family y'all spend every Christmas with.
This is my family. This is not his dad's family. This is my family.
Do any of them reach out to you? Like,
No.
did they attend your son's funeral?
They did. Yeah.
So, walking with Jameer, you have your foundation. You have therapy in session, emotion. You're reaching out to other families and like our podcast.
Yeah.
And we are extremely happy that you're here because this
Thank you.
story
I'm honored to
definitely
be a
needs to
part.
be shared.
Yeah.
And the violence is extremely high right
It
now.
is.
And going back to what you said about the mayor, I want to know, because I've seen you on the news a few times, but I want to know, what was those interactions like with the higher ups, people around the city, you know, because I do know, even you spoke before about your church involvement, you know, just wanting to know, what does that support look like when you lose a child?
It's helpful for me. You know, I have not had any problems with any of those people. That's why I said the call that I had yesterday, you know, I had to kind of like, you know, get in the middle of that because I can't say anything bad about the mayor. I can't. But for the person that does, you know, I kind of try to bring peace into that, and you may not receive it how you want to receive it, but I mean, you know, she has not done me anything, and she was not the cause of me losing my child. Let's be honest, she wasn't. You know, so I'm not going to entertain that, you know, and you're going to feel how you're going to feel, you know, but I feel like it's for me and where I am and who I am to kind of like diffuse that.
That's right.
Because, I mean, you can't play the blame game like that. I think that that's a little wrong. We're not doing that, you know, and like I say, every case is different. You know, Jameer's case, like I say, I'm honest to say, that was family. And I'm going to be real with that. And I stand on that till the Lord say different for me.
Do you feel like justice will ever be served?
I do, but I feel like whatever God's justice to that is, Brandy, I'm going to be honest with you with that. Whatever God's justice is for that. God has me going where he wants me to go with these foundations and helping people. He's opened great doors. And like I say, it takes, for me, I feel like it takes a strong woman and a mother to say she knows that her child is in heaven with God resting. And he is. You know, and that keeps me going. The memories, you know, and it's not a day go by that it's something that, you know, it's like I say, he's gone, but his spirit is still so real. You know, and it's something that happens or something that does that let me know he's over me. He's keeping me. You know, and even in my days, because I do have them, you know, I have my moment. I get myself together, and like my mama say, we're going to get up. We're not going to go to the loony bin today. You know.
You just still have homework.
So
I love that.
You know, she's like, okay, you have your moment. All right. Okay, well, come on, girl. We're not going to go to the loony bin today.
I like that.
You know, come back. You know, and I take care of people, you know, for a living. I probably take care of people for a living. So, and all of that and dealing with that and dealing with dementia all day long. So, you know, all of that keeps me going.
Yes.
You know, and even the families that I take care of since this, they've been there for me. They really, really have. You know, and again, that keeps me going.
So how long did it take for you to adjust back to life? You know, a little bit. I mean, like, you look so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just to even get up and put some clothes on following Jameer's birthday.
I'm still adjusting, you know, to be honest to you. You know, I have my days where I'm still, his room at my house is still how he left it. I intend for it to be that way. My mom has, you know, put that nobody can go in there other than her, you know. And it's some days I can go, some days I can't, you know, and it is what it is. But certain things I'm still processing. It took me maybe about like 2 months to really get myself together after I had that terrible moment that I had. And then after, you know, like I said, right after Jameer, I had to have surgery. So Jameer, we laid him to rest in January of 2021. And then it was a month and a half later, I had to have the ovarian surgery. So that kind of put me down again in adjusting to that and selling and all of that. And then I just was like, Rich, you got to get together. And that's every day I say that. Even in my moments, got to get it together.
What does your ex-husband do for his grieving process? Do y'all still talk? Like,
no shade. It works for me.
Right.
But you know, he has went on, you know, and that's peace, you know, hey, you know, but like I said, Jameer is something that we will always share together.
Right.
Nobody can take that away. And we co-parent in heaven, now for him, and works
That's
for
a
me.
beautiful thing.
Yeah. And that's something I believe that he would have wanted.
Yes.
Jameer didn't get in the middle of that between me and his dad. Like I said, he loved both of us. Even though they used to, heckle me sometime with different things. I'd be like,
So I got a curious question because we don't get to ask this because this is kind of fairly new bringing people on. But I like that you said he stood with the dad and you saw him on the weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because so many parents are used to saying, "Oh, the mama," and if the mama
Right.
is doing her thing or whatever,
Yes.
That's not like normal.
And that's why
you know
I
what I'm
say-
saying? I love that.
That's why
What
I
was
said
that
from
like?
the beginning that I would never portray that I was a single parent. In everything that I've done in this journey, I've always said he has two parents.
That's right.
And he will always, I'm not here to bash anybody.
That's
It didn't
right.
work out with us,
Right.
but we were good parents. And
Yes.
even we said that was the one thing I do remember, because a lot of Jameer's funeral made 60 minutes. I have not watched it. I may not never watch it, but my mom and other people have. Jameer's funeral was a funeral that I had never ever in my life had went to for any child. It was that big. It really reminds you like a Biggie Smalls funeral. It was that big. And the one thing that I remember that his dad told me when he grabbed my hand, he said, "Risha, we did this."
Yes.
And
You
we
can
did.
tell when the
We
parent
did.
can allow the
Yes.
the mom can. You had one child.
Yeah.
Could go with the dad. That says a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and you.
And
You
honestly,
did your
when we were in the process of getting divorced, he told me. Jameer was like me. Like, not mouthy disrespectful, but like trying, very. And he told me, he said, "I'm not going with you." And I said,
And I
"What?"
love it.
And he said, "I'm staying with my daddy." And
That's me.
like not a worry in the
That was
world.
me as a kid.
I
And
love
it tore me up. And my mama was like, "You gotta leave him."
That's right.
But I think about that now since this situation has happened, honestly, and I thank God for those moments that he got him and I got
It
him.
says a lot about
Right,
dad.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
It
Yeah.
says a lot. So yeah. So moving forward, fast forward. Walking with Jameer. Where do you see your foundation going in the next 5 years?
Well, I really want to be, this year, I want to be able to get into the school system with a lot of things and also give scholarships to children that are graduating from school, going to college, and whatever major that they're, in. Like I said, basically, my thing is band in academics. But to help the kids more, mentorship programs, that's one of the things I'm working on now. I'm partnered up with some people with that because I feel like where we are right now in the second month of this year, it is,
Wow.
It's
You're
scary.
right.
It's scary.
yeah.
It's like you don't even want to turn the news on.
No.
You know.
Yeah.
You
Or
don't
the
even wanna go
Instagram.
outside.
Right.
Yeah. All
And you
of that.
don't want to let your friends around their friends.
Yes. Yep.
And
Yes.
that's anxiety in itself because you can't hold children hostage.
Right.
You can't.
Correct.
And children are growing up, they're teenagers, they're getting into that age. So it's like, as a parent, honestly, what do you do?
Right. I feel sorry for these kids because they really don't have a childhood.
Yeah.
Technology has taken over. The violence has taken over. Like, all these kids don't have social skills. They don't have anything that they need for society.
They don't.
And they can't function. And now when you add drugs to the equation, it's just a very depressing society.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, like, how it's going to go in the next few years.
You
'Cause
don't. You don't
what
know
is
how
our
it's going to go the
future
next
gonna
90
be? They're not
days.
even surviving to
Right.
19.
They're not.
What we
They're
gonna
not.
have?
And it's like, you save up money, you're saving, we on this, what is it, inflation.
Yeah.
So parents are trying to put as much money as possible as they can to even take the child out to eat, to the show.
Right.
And then you get a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot going on.
That's a
Parents
lot.
can't even really live.
Yeah.
You know, because
Okay.
you can't leave them alone too long. You can't, it's certain things, restrictions as a parent,
Yeah.
you become limited.
Yes.
for the safety of your child.
And that becomes mental to a parent.
Absolutely.
You know, and even the parent that has had a child that has been murdered, that have other kids, you know, I have a lot of families, a lot of mothers, they're going through, you know, and they're worried about the other siblings.
Absolutely.
Because they're mad, you know, that their sister, their brother,
Retaliation,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's just a lot. It's like, what do you do?
Right.
What do you do?
Okay, so before we wrap it up, I definitely want to say thank you.
Thank you
It's
to
been
both
an
of you
honor.
guys. Thank you.
It's been an honor, and we definitely want your story to be heard.
Yes.
We look forward to continue to keep an update on you,
Yeah.
Jameer. And if you don't mind, how can other parents reach your foundation? Do you have a website?
I do. It's the King Jameer M. Alfred Foundation.org. And also my personal phone number is 504-405-6730.
Now, what better way you can get that?
That's it.
You know,
Straight to the
you
source.
are ready to
Okay.
do business.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the community needs that, and the more programs that continue to surface.
And I'm helpful. You know, like I said, this is not just me. You know, there's other organizations, and I tell this all the time. Everybody have to step in to make this go. You know, to make this work for the next generation. It's not just me. You know, all organizations should partner work.
Right.
You know, we should
should.
do that.
Yeah.
You know, and make this work. This is not just a one person thing. You know.
Okay. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you.